I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about psychology and true crime. This was a video that was highly requested, asking me to analyze the personalities of Lori, Sarah, and Donna. If you know nothing about any of these cases, I have playlists on each and every one of them. And so Lori is convicted of conspiring to unalive her daughter, her son, who also had autism, her, I guess, her now husband, because I guess if her and Chad are married, but the wife of her lover, Tammy Daybell, and also her husband, Charles Vallow, and and also an attempt against her ex nephew in law, Brandon Boudreaux. All right. So Lori has a lot. Of all of these individuals, Lori's the one with the most charges. Sarah Boone was convicted of unaliving her boyfriend. There are horrific videos and audio recordings of Sarah just berating him. And we can learn a lot from listening to this. And yet I understand. So I'm not going to play any of the things associated with any of these people because it can be extremely triggering to watch. And really, what we're here to do is to just talk about some of the personality traits that might be happening in a case like this. I am a psychologist. I am not their psychologist. I have never met any of them. And so I cannot talk about any specific diagnoses. There were some diagnoses that came up in the trials of Sarah Boone because she attempted a DV defense. And so she was assessed by a defense expert and also state expert. And then Lori, her competency in her first trial was raised. And so her diagnosis came into play. And with Donna, we are not aware of any official diagnoses, but we have heard about some of her parenting strategies and her need for control. And so we're kind of making some assumptions here. So please note, this is all speculation, assumptions based on what we know about their trials and any publicly available information. All right. So when we talk about these individuals, and it's interesting that we're talking about three, because I wanted to talk about the dark triad. Okay. So if you have never heard of this, the dark triad is Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and narcissism. And the combination of those three in one personality can make up the dark triad. And there are individuals in workplaces. So just because somebody has a dark triad personality does not necessarily mean that they will commit crimes. It's just this combination. There are some traits that we see. And so I also want to share some resources for people that might have a family member with one or more of these traits, just of how you can set some boundaries in situations like this. Okay. Anytime I do a video, I always want to talk about what we can learn and what we can kind of grow from in these situations, because the individuals that we started out talking about, let me go back to that page. They want us to just focus on them. Okay. I think they're very comfortable with the spotlight, the fact that their trials were broadcast, the fact that there's all these people talking about them. It might feed into a little bit of that potential narcissistic traits. It might feed into some of those. So I always want to talk about how you can help people that may be impacted by individuals like this. All right. So let's hop right in to more information about the dark triad. The information that I'm sharing, I will include a link down in the description if you would like to dive into this information a little bit more. The dark triad personality, like I said, it includes narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. It was coined in 2002 by Canadian psychologists Paulus and Williams in their publication, The Dark Triad of Personality. It was published in the Journal of Research and Personality. Their theory posits that these three malevolent and socially aversive personality traits can coexist and overlap and stem from a common core. And their So this is their theory, and that the dark triad was kind of that core. With narcissism, it's characterized by ego-driven grandiosity. So like thinking so the thing with narcissism is that the individuals are normally pretty insecure, because if you don't have to show off like that. Like you can accept feedback if you have a strong ego. So individuals with narcissistic traits, their secret is that their huge ego is easily deflated, like just like a pinprick, and all of a sudden they're trying to protect that ego because it's incredibly fragile. And ego is not self-esteem, because individuals with narcissism, what you want to address is their lack of a stable sense of self. Like, you can make mistakes. You can take feedback. You don't always have to be the best. You don't have to be the richest, smartest, best in the room. And then all of a sudden feel like you're absolutely nothing, or that you have to bring other people down to feel as though you're better. That comes from a very fragile sense of self and a very fragile ego. And so I like to point out that difference, because sometimes people think of narcissism as a strong sense of self, where they are like, they're so full of themselves, but it's a huge facade and a mask because they're incredibly insecure. So Sarah Boone, she tries to come off like she is so smart and she's so great and she can do all these things. And then, like, she needs help. She needs to listen. She needs to accept information from other people. And because, like, when things start not going her way, Sarah Boone has a history of escalating, getting very mad when things aren't going the way that she wants them to. Or she will start attacking people personally when things aren't going the way that she wants them to go. Right? When people might be trying to help her. I haven't talked about it here. So Sarah Boone has a family court case. Tanika's 2 cents. She went down to the hearing. She was there for part of it. And she shares over on her channel all of that. And she has some audio from it. And you can hear Sarah going back and forth with the judge, her verbally attacking Brian. And so Brian is Sarah's ex-husband. They have a child together, and they're currently trying to work out custody. Sarah has been sentenced to the rest of her life in jail, and she's fighting over minute stuff. So the things that her ex proposed, I thought were generous. So he's still willing to do one phone call a week, but he was just trying to set, I think, 1 or 2. He was trying to set some boundaries around when she calls. And I think the length of the calls, because it was getting expensive, versus it being like whenever she wants, her just calling whenever she wants. And I think he also wanted the child to have some choice about whether he sees her or whether he does engage in communication with Sarah, which I think that would be healthy. And Brian's lawyer pointed out the fact that they could be pressing for termination of parental rights. They could. And she's over here fighting and arguing over, like, things that she's not going to get. So Sarah wants child support. She's in jail for like, why would Brian be paying you, or why would he pay you alimony? And like, the state of Florida is taking care of all of your needs. And he now has to solo parent this child. He's the solo, like, financially, like, he's the only one that's responsible for the child right now. And Sarah had the nerve in this hearing to be like, well, like, almost like the people that support her couldn't help. So I don't know. It was just the thing she said. It makes you just want to. It becomes a lot just to try to manage everything. Brian does a phenomenal job, but with individuals like Sarah and possibly the other 2 pictured too, when they want to get their way, I think sometimes they try to wear people down with their emotional response and their unreasonableness. All 3 of them can talk a lot, And I think they're really good at talking. And part of that might be the Machiavellianism. So let's move in. So we just talked about the narcissism. I don't think that we meant to. let me let me get a grounding for where I was with this. All right. Yes, we talked about narcissism. So with the Machiavellianism, that is a calculated social manipulation, duplicity, and willingness to deceive to achieve personal goals. Okay. I will say that again. A calculated social manipulation, duplicity, and a willingness to deceive to achieve personal goals. So I don't use people. Do you know what? Like the people in my life, I try to make sure that our relationships are mutually beneficial. I try. Now there might have been times where I might have been more available than a friend, and there might have been times they might have been more available, but overall in our relationship, I like for relationships to go back and forth, that we're both benefiting from the relationship. And with Machiavellianism, that is where the individual is okay with using people for their own wants and needs, which is problematic. And so there can be this tendency to lie, manipulate, and strategize to gain power. And when I hear that, I immediately think of Donna Adelson, because that was the allegation, or she's been convicted now. She was convicted of first degree, capital M, and then also conspiring to unalive her ex son in law. And then also I think there was a third charge. I think paying for it. I think that was the other part. And with her crime, the goal was to have more access to her grandchildren. And there were text messages where Donna, I think like Wendy might have been messaging that the kids were sad or something, or somehow there was a text message about the kids grieving their dad. And Donna was like, they're too young. Like, there's no way this is affecting them. That is manipulative. Like, that's gaslighting. That is so many things. Like, how can somebody's saying the kids are sad, they're grieving their dad, and she's over here like, no, there's no way. There's no way that they would grieve that. So much. Which can also go into the narcissism, it can go into the manipulation, it can go into that psychopathy too, that lack of empathy. So let's move in to the third part of that dark triad, the psychopathy. That is a callousness, impulsivity, lack of empathy, and predatory behaviors. Okay. And with that, excuse me, there is a lack of empathy or remorse. There can be this tendency towards negative, antisocial. And remember, when we say antisocial, that means against social norms. It's not, I don't like to be around people. So within psychology, the DSM-5, there is a personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder. When we talk about psychopathy or sociopaths, we're normally looking at that falling somewhere in that, like, in those personality. So like antisocial personality disorder, that's kind of the closest that we have in the DSM-5. Antisocial personality disorder is the one disorder that people can't use when they're claiming not guilty by reason of insanity. And all right, individuals that have these characteristics, sometimes they don't meet the full criteria for antisocial personality disorder. Okay. And so those were some of the personality traits that came up when thinking about those three individuals. Okay. And I really like sharing this information because sometimes, as we're talking about uh, trials, cases, so I never use psychology to justify behavior. Anytime we're talking about cases, anytime we're talking about anything, it is for education, and I'm trying to understand why somebody might have done the thing that they did, but I believe in consequences. So it's like, okay, so while I might understand that a person might have had a difficult childhood, this might have happened, that might have happened, I might be able to understand how they came to where they are. With Donna, Sarah and even Lori, they never really seem to have consequences for their behavior. In the past, they seem to be able to talk their way out of things. So, Sarah Boone, there are these police videos where she would immediately start trying to get on the officer's side. She would claim that she was the victim, and she would do all of these things and try to talk her way out of situations when she clearly, in my opinion, based on everything I've seen, had a severe alcohol problem. Okay. So some people have called Donna like an older, sober Sarah. Some people have kind of, and I'm not laughing because so none of this. So I have a dark sense of humor. If you're new to my channel, if you're new to this, please know I have a very, very dark sense of humor. So when I kind of giggle a little, it's just because it's like, oh wow, I never thought about it. So somebody made that comment that Donna was kind of like a geriatric sober. I also said more organized because Donna was the mischief maker. Like she was organizing, domestically coordinating. I've also said here on my channel, Donna was doing too much. She needed to do less. She was way too over involved in everybody's else's life. I think Donna, Sarah, and Lori, they all wanted control, even in their trials, in everything. I think they wanted their hands in everything, and I think they wanted control. Because I wonder if with Donna, if some of the defense's strategy, I wonder if some of the questions they asked, some of the things they said, I wonder if Donna wanted some of those things to come out, if she wanted her friend to get up and talk about how great of a grandmother she was, despite knowing the state has all these messages, like horrific messages. So, with her suggesting really bad things. I'm being YouTube friendly. Like it was bad. The messages are bad. They're really bad. But there's also this lack of insight with all three of them. Okay. So with Lori, Sarah, and Donna going into their trials, I think they can only see things from their perspective. So Sarah looks at the video of George hitting the TV with a bat, which looked incredibly sad to me. Like he looked tired. He asked her, like, hey, you're going to help me clean this up after. So I wonder if before she started recording, if she asked him, like, hey, this TV's broken. I want you to destroy it. I want you to hit it. And she because why would he say, okay, if I do this, you're going to help me, right? Just, it didn't make any sense. But he's like kind of hit, like it didn't look scary, but I think she wanted him to look like a villain, to look incredibly bad. And we're all looking at it like, that doesn't make him look like this scary, harmful person. And then the videos where she's berating him, he's crouched in a corner. I think she looks at that video and she's like, he was trying to leave me. I was the victim in that situation. I don't think she sees it the way we see it. She can only see her perspective and can't see any other perspective. And it's not a psychotic or delusional can't see. It's just that ego. That's the hard part with narcissism. Sometimes there's this inability to accept information that doesn't conform with this over idealistic view of themselves. Or if they do start to have any potential consequence, that's when they can start, trigger warning, having thoughts of unaliving themselves. And so that's where I think Donna, like she was the clearest one of this, where when Charlie was convicted and she felt she was next, she was like, okay, I've lived a good life. Instead of going to jail, instead of to get away from these consequences, like my ego, I can't handle this. And I was like, and who wants to be in jail? So like I can kind of empathize with that a little. Somebody, it's not. So I'm breathing a little because there were some comments on my video. A few people were very upset about my video where Paul and I were just chatting. So Paul is a hilarious person, okay? You can't get with Paul and not laugh. And I think some people were thinking that we were making fun or light of Donna being sentenced, when really it's like, those were the consequences of her actions finally coming down. To me, it's almost like watching those videos where people keep hurting themselves. Like, it's sad. Like, oh, but like it's also kind of funny. And so like I have a dark sense of humor. And that's the people that need to see this part aren't going to watch it. Really not going to see it. Engagement is engagement. Thank you for commenting. And also, like, if you don't like the video, you can not watch. Not an airport. People love commenting that they don't like something. Whole other thing. My bad. So, with the dark triad, there can be a self-centeredness. They often project confidence, but the truth is, people with the dark triad personalities tend to be incredibly insecure. They see themselves as special. So all three of them, incredibly special. And they expect others to treat them in a way. Oh, they expect others to treat them that way regardless of what they do or how they behave. So they want to be treated as the queen no matter what they do. And I think that's clear with all three of those individuals. As a result, they tend to feel misunderstood or victimized by the people around them. And I think that's kind of that Darvo a little. So Darvo is deny, attack, reverse victim, and defender, where they're over here. So Donna likely felt betrayed by her jailhouse daughter, especially the one that she probably felt very close to, the one that she offered the grand piano. I think Donna probably felt very betrayed by her. Probably like thinking like, this is just another daughter that has betrayed me. I don't know. And yet she's asking her to do a crime. If that individual had went along with what Donna said, there were probably, I'm not a lawyer, there were probably some crimes that because giving improper testimony, like testimony that's a lie, that you've conspired with this other person to then get bribes. Like it wasn't like it was just, hey, just help me out, be a good friend. It was, hey, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. If you do this for me, I'll get you. So for Patricia, I'll get you a trailer, some new teeth. I got you. Or the other one, I'll get you, I don't know, maybe there's a grandchild that likes to play the piano. I don't know. And she was offering somebody that struggles with substances, offering them pills. And so like it's just so problematic, but it's exactly what we would expect. All right. And when something happens that threatens their self-concept or reputation, expect a big reaction. And that's where Donna's reaction to the verdict, I don't think the judge was surprised. And that's why the judge admonished her before, or the whole jury, like he was just like, hey, control yourselves. And Donna's emotions just don't feel authentic to me. They just don't. I think Lori has never reacted poorly to a verdict, but I think she's very concerned with appearances and how she looks. And Sarah also, I think, was very aware of the cameras, and I think she didn't want to be portrayed as this, I don't like to use the word crazy, but that's probably, she didn't want to be viewed to become a meme the way that Donna kind of did. But Donna is just very emotionally reactive, but there doesn't seem to be that authentic emotion behind it. It feels manipulative. It feels like she was trying to punish the jury, or she wanted her grandkids or Wendy to see this and look at what you've done to me. How dare the jury? How dare this 20-something-year-old four-person? How dare y'all do this to me? Like it seemed mad. She seemed big mad. And Judge Everett was not there for it at all. I will definitely cover her sentencing. I think she will probably say something. Her lawyers are probably going to say, don't say much. Do the Charlie. Just say, I don't agree. I don't like, just don't say much. But as Kathy would say, and I think some other people would say too, Donna kind of failed shut up school. I don't know that she can. We'll see. We'll see if she can. Because, hey, she didn't testify. So, like, she can make decent decisions. The way I wanted to see her cross-examined by Georgia, Oh, I wanted to see it so bad. Sarah did testify in her trial. There was no way that she wasn't gonna get on the stand and tell her story. I think she was one that was also very aware of the cameras, very aware of the stories being told. I think, Tanika calls them her flying monkeys. I think people were coming back and telling her about the coverage, about what other people were saying, and, so I think she was into all of that. Donna could have also been, like, hoping for a pen pal out of this. I don't know. It's tough. Alright, and so people with this personality type might not give outward indications that they're self-centered. Some people might call this covert narcissism. Uh, but I think Lori was pretty overt with hers. I don't think Lori was covert at all. All right. Charm and charisma. So they definitely have this charm and charisma. They can have a lack of healthy attachments. And when I like to say healthy, because they often have an avoidant attachment style. So they struggle to connect the way other people do. And so let's talk a little bit about avoidant attachment. Okay. So that is an insecure attachment that where individuals have difficulty with emotional intimacy, true intimacy, a strong need for independence, and a tendency to avoid closeness and emotional vulnerability in relationships. And so, because I think Donna was using Charlie, and like I don't know, like the love that she had for Charlie, it seemed weird. Seemed weird to me. That's the best way I can describe it. They seemed incredibly enmeshed. Just Wendy, Donna, probably Harvey too. They just that family, and I have whole playlist, a lot of information covering some of my thoughts on the family dynamics there. They're often unemotionally available as caregivers. There can often be rejection or criticism, and there can be this emotional distance, a fear of intimacy. They can often minimize the emotions of others and withdraw, have difficulty with conflict. Because if you weren't on Donna's side, same with Sarah. Same with Lori. If you disagreed with her, she would like attack or just never talk to you again. Or yeah, there would be a lot. All right. All right. There can be lots of lying with individuals with with this personality style, unnecessary risk taking, financial risks, just all types of risky behaviors, a lack of compassion. There can be a lot of jealousy. They want to be the object of everyone's affection. They crave control over others and treat people and relationships like status symbols. And I think as like objects versus individual people that have their own thoughts, wants, and desires. That they project their own thoughts onto other people. Because even I don't know, it's just it gets really complicated. There can be a lot of greed, and then there can be bullying or even harm. And I use the word harm because there's uh, word that is not YouTube friendly. Okay, so how to deal with a dark triad personality? Sometimes at first you want to create a little distance between yourself and the individual, protecting yourself financially, physically, and emotionally. If you're co-parenting with an individual like this, um, definitely have some supports in place of how to just protect yourself. Educate yourself. The more you learn about these, the better, because you'll kind of see the tactics coming. Establish expectations. It's important to set very clear boundaries, outlining what you're willing and not willing to do, and make sure to hold firm to those rules despite what they do, because these individuals will definitely attempt to manipulate. And the way that I look at manipulation is it's somebody trying to get their needs met the wrong way. So Donna, she wanted to see her grandkids more, but the way she went about it was very problematic. And the thing she might have had to do was grieve My kids are gonna grow up in Tallahassee. My grandkids, see, I said kids. Those weren't her kids. Her grandkids were gonna grow up in Tallahassee for the time being, and there was nothing she could do to change that. Okay. Stay skeptical. So, skepticism is crucial when interacting with those who have these types of characteristics. They are prone to lying, and then limit your reactions. So this is where we talk about gray rock. So gray rocking is not giving an emotional response. I think Brian Boone did a really good job of this. If you go back and listen to when Sarah's trying to accuse him of all these things, he's just answering her questions. And he's just like, he's trying to stay as regulated as possible. He probably does get upset at some because it's Sarah. Like, oh, and she's accusing him of horrific things and she's not staying on topic. She's not at all. But you don't want to be reactive in those situations. Don't retaliate because it just makes things worse and it could put you in a dangerous situation, and make sure to get support. Those are all very, very important things. With your healing and growth, self-awareness. So understanding your own emotions, because sometimes there can be a confusing process where that other person's emotions might have become your emotions. You might feel like they made you the bully. They made you the like, when you might have actually been the one being harmed emotionally in this situation. And so I really like Dr. Ramani's book, It's Not You. And she has whole series on how to heal from people that have antagonistic relationship styles. She calls it narcissism, but she will also talk about antagonistic personalities. All right. Let me see if there's anything else we have with this one. If y'all have questions, please make sure to put them down in the comments. We'll see if there's a part 2. I think this was enough. I've said many times, it's like, oh, I so want to be done with these 3. But then there are a lot of similarities that come up within the things that we saw in how they handled their court cases. Lori represented herself because I think she wanted to cross-examine people. I think she wanted to say certain things that a lawyer probably would have recommended that she not do. And her strategy wasn't particularly helpful. If you didn't watch her trial down in Arizona, I have a few videos covering that. It was a lot. But then also with figuring out how to move forward from situations and individuals like this, the people left behind. So for people like Rob, who may never have a relationship with his mother, the way that Donna's face just kind of cringed when talking about Rob, when I'm so proud of Rob. Like, I am so happy for him. And yet at the same time, it's incredibly hard to have to distance yourself from somebody that raised you, somebody that you probably care about. I mentioned in another video that we are wired to love. We are wired to connect with our caregiver. And what do you do when that person isn't an emotionally, like based on her crime, maybe even physically safe person? Because there were some allegations that Donna tried to put, like, wanted somebody to harm Rob when she found out he was going to testify. Oh, she just won't stop doing crimes. She could have been charged with that too. They didn't charge that. That did not come up in court. That's just some things that I've heard, might not be accurate. I try to base this on what I know for sure and then let y'all know. And it's just things I've heard on the YouTube streets. So I try to let y'all know that. Y'all know I love Kathy with Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo. She keeps us updated on all things. There's a case out of California. It's a lot. So the next cases I'll be covering there's an Amish mother out, forget the state, but it's going to be a not guilty by reason of insanity case. I'm definitely going to follow that. The next video is going to be reviewing her body camera footage of the day she was arrested. She makes some concerning statements, and so I definitely want to talk about that. I will see you all next time, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.